Hello class, and try not to pay much attention to the background noise. I cannot stop what my siblings have done. So, without further ado, let's get to work. Atoms that gain or lose electrons will become electrically charged. An electrically neutral atom has the same number of positive and negative charges. Looking at this cobalt picture, you see that there's 27 positively charged protons in the nucleus, and there must be 27 negatively charged electrons on the outside because this is an electrically neutral atom. Not every atom is electrically neutral. So, definition: ion.
Ion.
An atom that has a positive or negative electrical charge. Cations.
Cation.
Isn't any atom with a positive charge. Anion.
Anion.
Any ion with a negative charge. Now, looking at this table, we can see ions charged, positive, cation, CS plus, Al3 plus, Na plus, Li plus. Ions charged negative, anion, Pb3 minus, Br minus, O2 minus, and F minus. Kind of a little neat trick to help you remember which one is positive and which one is not. For cation, the first two letters, Ca, you can think of the T as a plus sign, and you can make the C stand for containing, and the A would be standing for A, so it would be containing a positive ion. That's a cool way to remember that. And then for anion, take the first letter and the second letter, and A could stand for A and N would stand for negative, so anion could stand for a negative ion. It's just a little neat trick. Okay, an atom that loses one electron has a net charge and has a net electrical charge of +1. So let's watch this video. Well, before, just a sec. Okay, an atom that loses one electron has a net electrical charge of +1. So looking at this picture, we know that the sodium atom has 11 protons and 11 electrons. Therefore, the net charge is equal to 0. This is an electrically neutral sodium atom right now. Now let's watch the animation. So what just happened was one electron just left the outside of the proton atom, not proton. So now we know that the proton number is greater than the net electron number, which therefore meaning if we have more protons than electrons, we have a positive net charge. Since there is one more proton than an electron, we have a positive net charge of +1. Some atoms may lose more than one electron. Now let's look at this. We see that this beryllium atom has 4 protons and 4 electrons, therefore having a net charge of 0 because it is electrically neutral. Now let's watch the animation. Now this beryllium atom just lost 2 electrons, therefore it's still having 4 protons and 2 electrons. It has a positive net charge of +2 because there are 2 more protons than electrons. Some atoms gain electrons to become anions. Now looking at this, we see this chlorine atom has 17 protons and 17 electrons, therefore having a net charge of 0 because this is a electrically neutral atom. Now let's watch the animation. Okay, so this chlorine atom just gained 1 electron. It's got 17 protons and 1 electron. 18 electrons. Therefore, having 1 more electron than proton present, that has a negative net charge at -1. Some atoms gain more than 1 electron. So looking at this oxygen atom, we have 8 protons and 8 electrons with a neutral net charge of 0. So now, watch the animation. Now that the electrons are overridden by 2 plus electrons, there are 8 protons and 10 electrons. The net charge equals 2 minus, because there are 2 more electrons present than protons. You can determine the number of protons, neutrons, electrons, and an ion. So let's practice. Okay, so looking at sodium, we know that it's got a positive charge. So looking at the protons, we know that there are 11 protons. Now, what do we have to do to make this? Just a sec. So if we look at the protons, we see that there are 11 protons. We know...
Not like I can do any work in there right.
So looking at protons, we have 11 protons, and we know that the sodium atom is positively charged. It's got a positive sign. So that means that we must have 1 more proton than electron, therefore having 10 electrons. Okay, now we have a charge of -1. We have 17 protons, and we must have 18 electrons. We have a positive charge of +3. This means that there must be 10 electrons. Okay, now looking at protons, we have an atomic number of 33, my bad. And there must be 3 more electrons than protons, so that'd be 36, because we have a charge of -3. And our last one, let's find the protons. We have a positive charge of +2, the atomic number is 4, meaning that there are 4 protons. But neutrons, as for that, we have 5 neutrons, because 5 plus 4 equals 9, which is the mass number. And as for our electrons, we have 2 electrons, because there's a positive charge of +2. The atoms of some elements can gain or lose different numbers of electrons. So, looking really quick at the table, there we go. Okay, we're going to skip the video. Some ions are monatomic ions, others are polyatomic. Now let's look at monatomic. Monatomic in any ion of a single atom formed when a electrically neutral atom gains or loses electrons. Just keep in mind the key word mon, meaning 1. Polyatomic ion, an ion that consists of 2 or more atoms. That is a group of 2 or more atoms with an overall electric charge. So looking at the table, this would be a polyatomic, this would be a polyatomic, polyatomic. All of these are polyatomic ions because they are combined with 2 or more elements. This would be carbon, hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, and oxygen, my guess would be. And this would be nitrogen and hydrogen. Okay, ions are atoms with a positive or negative charge. If an atom gains 1 or more electrons, it will then become a negatively charged ion or anion. If an atom loses 1 or more electrons, it will become a positively charged ion or cation. Sometimes an individual atom can gain or lose different numbers of electrons and form more than one ion. Iron and cobalt are examples of this type of atom. It is possible to group It is possible for groups of atoms to exist as a single ion. These are polyatomic ions, such as the hydroxide ion, HO. Looking at the table, ions can be cations formed when atoms lose electrons. Ions can be anions formed when atoms gain electrons. Thank you for tuning in, and good luck.